Good to see you all once again. In the beginning of the year, we did, in the beginning of the year, we introduced how, as a couple, you can plan for the new year. We gave some 10 financial tips on how to achieve your financial goals for the year 2025. I can't believe the year is almost past mid-year. We are actually in July. So we just thought it fit to do a mid-year financial review to see where we are or where couples are at this point, and if you haven't met or you're struggling meeting your financial goals, we have some strategies on don't lose hope. All is not lost yet. We have some strategies that would like to share with you on how you can still achieve your financial goals at this point. So I just want to give a high level overview of what we discussed in the beginning of the year, just to refresh our memory. So some of the things that we talked about in the beginning of the year for couples in order to manage your finances, to make sure when it comes to your finances you have a successful year, was the first point was that we set shared financial goals, right? So we start the year by aligning our vision, both couples, whether it's saving for a house, paying off a debt, or planning. So why this matters is that it unifies goals to promote better teamwork and accountability, right? So one person cannot have a financial goal of buying a car and then the other person has a financial home of saving for a house, right? When you do that, you are not in alignment. So the first thing that we shared in the beginning of the year was that you set financial goals. Yeah, the second thing that we shared was that you review your budget. So, as a couple, it's important that you go through your current budget to see what worked and what did not work. And then, if you have to make some adjustment for a new income expenses, if somebody lost a job, unfortunately, you would have to adjust your budget or your income or even your lifestyle, right, to make sure that it fits your how much you're bringing in. If a partner or a couple had a job, a promotion, an increase in payment, you also want to set your budget in income. I'm sorry, you want to set your budget to make sure that it's aligned. Why does this matter? It matters because a well-structured budget helps to prevent overspending and build savings, right? So, if you've been listening to the Patrick Baffy show, you know that budgeting is like our holy grail. The third thing was that you track your spending. So one of the ways that you can use apps nowadays. There are so many apps that you can find is easily accessible to everybody, or spreadsheets to track where your money is going, right? So you look for patterns, you look for and leaks. Somebody said that when you look at your financial statements, you can tell where your priorities are. So if 80% of your money is going to clothes, then you know that is your priority. If 90% of your money is being used for groceries, that's your priorities, right? So it's always important that you track your spending, and then you know where your spending is. And then if there are any wasteful habits, you see, okay, I'm spending 90% of my budget or 90% of my income on clothes. So that becomes a red flag. And then you become self-aware, and then you curb any wasteful habits. This also improves your planning. The other thing that we talked about, that's point number 4, I believe, is that you reassess emergency savings, right? So you aim for this, something we also talk about all the time in the Patrick Baffy show, is that you aim for 3 to 6 months of expenses saved in an accessible account. So the keyword here is emergency, right? So if it's not an emergency, you do not touch that money. The fifth one was that you date. Set a monthly money date. So choose a regular time to discuss finances openly. So your goals, your investments, your progress. Sometimes in our culture, or from the culture that we come from, talking about money is forbidden, right? Or we are not so open, but it's a healthy financial habit, right? Healthy financial hygiene. You want to be able to talk to your partner freely. There should be that trust and transparency. And then the sixth thing was that update insurance and beneficiaries. So it's always important that life happens. So everybody wants to live to 100 years, but life happens. So you want to keep that in mind as well. You revisit your life, your health insurance, your home insurance policies. If you have a new baby and the family, if you need to update your health insurance policies, make sure that that child is added on. You want to do, these are just examples, right? So life changes, marriage, kids, jobs may require an update to stay protected. The seventh thing that we talked about is that you review your debt strategy. So you list all your debts, your credit cards, your student loans, anything that you consider as debt, you list that and decide on a method. We've already discussed that in the Patrick Murphy show all the time. You decide on a method that you want to pay off, right? So you can say, okay, this year we want to pay off our student loan or one partner student loan, or we want to pay off our car. So you review your debt strategy. Why does a debt strategy matter? It helps reduce interest payments and then you reach financial freedom faster. The other thing that we talked about is that you maximize retirement contributions. We've been talking about this all the time in the Patrick Barfi show, is that evaluate your 401k or IRA and other retirement accounts, and then you increase your contributions if it's possible. Why does this matter? It's because compound growth over time secures your future and your lifestyle. And then the last but one point is that you plan for big expenses. So let's say that you have a child that is going to college, right? You have a child that has recently started driving that needs a new car. That's a big expense. Your child is getting married. And so, for example, anticipate weddings, tuition, home repairs. Maybe this year it's time to change your heating system. That's a big spend, and it's time to change the roofing on your house. It's time to remodel, do a painting, paint the house. So travel, maybe you have plans to go on vacation, you have plans to go to Ghana together with a family this year. It's very important that you plan for that as well. Why does this matter? Planning prevents reliance on credit cards and then keep your goals intact, right? Also, planning prevents you from dipping into your emergency fund. And then the final point that we'll go over as a recap is that revisit financial roles. So clarify who handles what, paying bills, managing investments, and then tracking receipts, right? As a couple, it's very important that you all have a joint account, and then there should be one partner whose sole responsibility is for paying the bills, managing investments, and then tracking receipt. You can designate, it doesn't matter. It could be the man, it could be the woman. To me, I'll say you look at your personalities, right? Who is more organized? Who is more likely to remember things. I know sometimes as women, we are busy with the kids, with cooking, with our own jobs. So we have so many other things going on that you might not necessarily, when it's time, like say your credit card payment is due, you're already thinking about cooking for the kids and you might forget. So that's just an example that um, just assign that partner that is more likely to be on top of the goals. And then the final thoughts I would like in terms of the recap is that your relationship is the partnership, right? So money is just one part. So keep communication honest, stay flexible, and then celebrate wins together. We discussed this last year. No matter how small, if you are able to pay off a student loan, you should celebrate that. If you're able to pay off your car loans, you should celebrate that. So now that we've discussed a recap, our next thing is that maybe you have not been able to reach your financial goal. It could be that, and I know in the beginning of the year, everybody has New Year's resolutions. Maybe your resolution was that I would save $50,000 at the end of this year. I'll save $5,000. Or I'm going to pay off my student loan. I'm going to pay off my car loan. Or even you decided that you were going to make some finance. You're going to, I can't remember what word I'm looking for, but maybe you decided that you're going to make some adjustments, right? Maybe I'm not going to spend too much money on clothes, or I'm not going to be eating out anymore. Maybe you made some decisions that will help you save money more, and it has not come to, lack of a better word, a manifestation, right? Or you're not seeing that you're not being able to do that. And it's half of the year. I'm saying that this year has gone so by so quickly. It's almost August. And for some, you may feel like you don't even know where the year went and you have not been able to achieve your financial goals. But like I said before, all is not lost. The purpose of this follow up video is to do an assessment of how effective these 10 financial tips are. And if you have not been able to reach your financial goal. We are hoping that at this end of this video, you'll be able to recalibrate, right? And then get on track with your financial decisions or with your spending. So recalibrate, right? That's what we are doing right now. Recalibrating is not that it's not a loss of destination, but it's the loss of direction. So the same thing, let's say you're going somewhere on your GPS and then you miss your turn, right? The GPS recalibrates. Sometimes it takes it like a second to recalibrate. If you're supposed to take exit 56 and then you took exit 54, right? It will recalibrate. Sometimes you have to go through the local roads. That doesn't mean your destination, wherever you're going, has changed, but you're just recalibrating and then you come back to the same point. So that's what we are trying to do today, is to recalibrate, show you how you can recalibrate to stay back on track on your financial goals. So all is not lost. So I'll turn over to Mr. Braffy in case he wants to add anything, so I can get a breather before we move to how we are assessing our financial goals.
Hello, everyone. Like she was saying, everything is not lost. Whatever it is, we know a lot of people cannot catch up with their goals, and most people fall off before even the year, 3 months. So even if you have to this point and you haven't got anywhere, or you have not really, you are not on track, you're not lost. You're going to go through this stuff and see where you can make some adjustment and be back on track. So, couples financial management mid-year review. Let's go. Number one is
Okay, so as Mr. Barfi just said, if you haven't met your financial goals mid-year yet, don't panic. This is a valuable time to recalibrate, as I mentioned. So here's what you can do together as a couple to stay back on track. The first thing is that reassess and realign your goals. So the action, right? So we're for every step that we give, we are going to go with the action and then a tip and an example. So the first action is that review your original goals. Are they realistic? Are they relevant? So maybe the first original goal was to save $50,000 a year. But right now, with the economy, with the way things are so expensive, with the way grocery bills are so expensive, maybe you're not being able to have a lot of disposable income, right? So this is a time to realign. Okay, instead of you just throwing that goal away, okay, things are so expensive, XYZ, and people have been laid off from jobs, so I don't want to. I don't think this goal is achievable, and then you just forget about the goal or you kill that goal. Just review it and then adjust it, right? So instead of saving 50,000, you can say, okay, let's bring it down to 25,000, right? One thing about goals is that it has to be realistic, right? So that's the first thing about a goal. So like I said, you adjust timelines or you break goals into smaller milestones. So instead of saying I'm saving 50,000 by the end of the year, you can say we are giving ourselves 2 years, right? The other point is that you break them into smaller milestones. So you say every month we're going to save 500, or every month you're going to save 200. So for example, another example is if saving 10,000 this year feels out of reach, like I mentioned before, aim for 6,000 by the end of the year, and then the additional 4,000 you can revisit next year. So we'll move on to point two, which is reviewing your spending habits.
point two is analyzing your current spending and financial habit. You see, what can we do at this point? It doesn't look like we've done it at this point. So we can go all the way back. Look at your bank statement, at least go back 3 months, 6 months, and see what went wrong, you know, and that is where you can, plug the leaks. Because definitely if something is not working well, there might be some leaks somewhere. And there are so many apps that can help you make sure you know what you're doing. So, like I said, all is not lost. If it hasn't gone as planned, make sure you go back, start going through them and see what it is. See, we can do this. I have this thing that I say you can do, like make a start, continue list. What does that mean? So, what do we need to stop so that we can come back um, and start trying to get to where we want to be? Say, so let's say if I buy coffee every day, now it looks as if I got to stop. buying coffee. Maybe I can buy the coffee machine and start making coffee at home. All right. The next thing is what? Start. What do we start? You know, okay, I go to work. I don't bring lunch with me. Now I'm bringing in lunch. So if I'm not bringing in lunch, or hey, if I go to work, I buy lunch. I use maybe $15 every day. No, okay, now I'm gonna start using $5 instead of $15. And the continuous, what are we doing that is helping us? We will continue to do that. You know, are we? I'll give example. Are we donating more? Those are the things we have to stay. These are the steps that we have to take that can help us also go on. Also, when we are doing this, especially when you bring in your bank statement, make sure you categorize the spending. Remember our four walls. We are always making sure our four walls are done before we go to the wants versus need. Don't forget that the needs are some things that the things that we don't really need, but the needs are the things we really need. Sorry, but the wants, if we don't get them, we are fine. So we have to make sure. Sometimes too, even we are doing the needs, but the needs, are we overspending? At this point, this point, we are not doing much. We are not going where we are going. We are not moving. So we have to make sure we go back and recap and see what we can do to do that. That leads us to number 3.
So point number 3 is that have an honest mid-year money talk. Have an honest mid-year money talk and no blame money talk. So for example, if this is not the time to summon one partner, hey, come here, let's have a talk. We need to discuss this. You can schedule a money date, right, to check in without distraction. So a money date, you can go out to a restaurant, maybe a quiet restaurant in a more less tense, relaxing atmosphere, and then you talk about where your finances are. So the tip about this is that you need to be transparent about how you are feeling, right? If you're feeling frustrated, you need to be able to project that, but in a way that does not seem, in a way that is not disrespectful, okay? Or in a way that does not make the conversation very tense, because that defeats their purpose. So be transparent about how you're feeling. Financial stress, like I already said, that one of the main reasons why, I think we said this before, that marriages do not last or end up in divorce is as a result of financial stress. Okay. So financial stress can build silently and hurt your relationship. So it's very important that you are transparent about how you're feeling. So if one partner is the one doing all the heavy lifting, and that partner is stressed out, or the money is coming in and then one partner is just basically squandering everything and the other partner feels frustrated, you should be able to um, speak up or speak out, but not in a disrespectful, in a fearful, in a loud way. Like I said, you can have a money date, you go out to a restaurant and then you talk about your finances. So we'll move to the fourth one, which is adjust the budget or adjust your budget.
Yes, adjusting or rebuilding your budget. You see, I love this when it comes to budget. I know so many people don't like it. Many people think budget is very restrained and all that. I do love it. You see, the point is, so many people that are doing well with money, they started doing budget, and even when they became millionaires, they're still doing budget. About 94% of millionaires still do budget. It tells you that budget is very important. So at this point, we got to go through our budget. What are we doing? We have to revisit, visit your monthly income and expenses. What we are bringing in, what is going out, is it adding up? And when you are doing the budget, make sure you do a zero-based budget. Give every dollar a job. That is simple. Make sure you don't leave even $1 in there. Every dollar should have a job. And zero budgeting doesn't mean your account should be zero. You don't want to go over. When you go overdrawn, you might get extra charge or something. So at least you leave about $200 in there. But that money that is coming in, it should be all gone. Every expenses, use part of at least make sure your investment and savings is also part of your expenses, so that every dollar got a job. you have to relocate funds. If you have to do that, reflect new media priorities. Are we getting there? If not, hey, I put in a budget. Thankfully, I have a budget. It's not an app yet, but online that you can go and use it. It's free. It's Patrick Buffy, Patrick Solutions /budget.com, which I have over there. You can use that. Make sure you visit your budget, redirect stuff. And like I said, your savings, your expenses, your savings and your investment should be part of your expenses. It makes it so easy, So these are some of the things. What can we do if we are still not getting there? Maybe some of the stuff that we are buying, we got to delay them. Some of our expenses, if it's not very urgent, it goes back to the same way, needs versus wants. Or the ones, we have to suspend them or we have to wait, because we have so many things to do. And like I said, budget, you got to be realistic and flexible. It's for you. You're making it for you. So don't make it so strict that you can't even move your neck. Don't do like what I did. Your 5 family, your groceries, then you put in about 500. Times have changed. You can't use 500 for five families. It won't work. That means you won't be able to follow it. So don't make it so strict. Be flexible. At the same time, too, don't make it too flexible. Make it tight a little bit. Stretch yourself a little bit, but make sure it's realistic. Budget, and it's zero budget. That will lead us to number 5, which is reconnecting with you. Why?
Number 5 is find ways to boost your income. So you can do that. Yeah.
To go 5 ways to boost your income. So we have to find a way. We have to find a way to boost our income, right? Strategies to boost our income. So you see, there are so many ways that we can do that. Like I said, we are here because, whatever we plan to do, the goals are not going the way we want. And there are so many things you can do these days, and remember, this is temporary. This is not permanent. This is for a season. And there are so many ways that, like I said, you can do tutoring online, reselling items, these transportations. You can do so many things. And this is the time for you guys to sit down and plan who is doing what and who is doing this. Maybe somebody might, reselling online. Somebody might be, wherever you are strong, you have to start doing that. Look, for opportunities at work. If you, at this point, if you are earn income, whereby you can even raise your income at work, you go in for you can bring in opportunities that can raise your, work. And a short time, what can you do? We can sell stuff. Hey, the chances are, if you haven't used a clothes for 2 years, you don't need them. You can resell them. We have so many clutters in our house. You have to declutter. At least, 5 to 10 items, you can sell them every, once 2 weeks or a week. That can reduce that. And like I said, again, 3 months goals, increase combination monthly income by even, you have to set a goal. Do you want to do maybe 3 months, increase our income within 3 months? Well, 500, 200, 300, depending on your situation and what you guys can do. So make sure, I know so many times people will be asking, what can we do? They don't know what to do, but tell you what, these days, there's a lot that you can do. I just made just told you about small stuff like tutoring online, English, whatever, so many things you can do. Even you can put you can sell water in front of your house with this, summertime, lemony. So there are so many things you can do, but make sure you are doing this at the same time. When you're doing this, bringing in the income, do not go squander the income. Put it on something. Either you have to, pay debt, or you have to do something, or you have to save. Don't bring the money in and use the money. And that will lead us to number 6, which is reconnecting with what? I think I got it mixed up. Reconnecting with your
Why? So before we get to the reconnecting with your why, we can do automate where you can. That's point number 6 if you're up to it.
Okay, automate savings and debt. You see, it's easier when we do that. When you are automating debt, automating savings and debt repayment, it kind of it removes willpower from the equation, and builds consistency. Because if you have to do this every day, you have to go in, log in, and pay. It takes some. You have to be very. You have to have that willpower to do it. But these days, all our banks helps us to do that. If your bank is not letting you do that, change your bank. So these are the things you have to do. Make sure your savings, like I said, always make your savings and your investment part of your expenses. It makes it so easy. It makes it so easy. So whilst you're automating all these things, all the time you are moving on, and monthly savings contribution, what do you have to do? Do not say the next month. At least $20 is fine. $50 is fine. It depends on, like I said, it depends on your strength. But not saving anything or investing in anything, don't let that happen. Make sure at least you are saving something. And if you have too much debt, also make sure, like I said, you have to automate that also. So, and when you do that, the snowball start rolling down gradually, and it's going to get you somewhere. The next thing you have to also do is make sure when the money is coming in, like I said earlier on, you do not spend the money. Make it go do whatever you guys have planned for. Next one is
So the next one is to revisit your why. So remind yourself why the goal matters, right? So you are setting why are you or why did you decide to set these financial goals? It could be that you want to save to buy a first home, you want to save to buy a second home. The goal was to save to be debt free, make sure your car loan is paid off. You wanted to make sure your student loans are paid off. Whatever it is, it's always important that you reconnect with why you're doing this, right? So a tip for that is that put a visual reminder, right? Either on your fridge or in your wallet to remind you of why you are doing this, because sometimes we get distracted and then you might lose focus. Even in the Bible, it says that make the vision plain, right? So write it down. So whatever your goal is, whatever the vision, the ultimate goal is, write it down somewhere that is visible, right? That everybody in the house can see, a visual reminder. Make sure that you do that. That's how you revisit your why. It's important to revisit your why because it will motivate you, right? When you're distracted, when you're down, when things seem impossible, when you have that visual reminder, it will boost your confidence to come back on the same track if you are not if you are backsliding. The eighth point is that identify what got in the way. So the action is, was it overspending? Was it an emergency? Was it that the expectations were unrealistic, right? Why did we get into this situation? Why were we not, why have we not been able to achieve our goals at this point of the year? How did we get there? Because once you are able to realize and acknowledge that this is the problem, then your mind subconsciously you're thinking of how to find a solution. But if you're living in denial, you are not acknowledging, you are not accepting that you are not where you're supposed to be, you will not be able to change. So it's very important that you identify what got you into this position. Why are we here? Why is it that it's the seventh month of the year and we don't even have $1,000 in our savings? Why is it that it's the seventh month of the year and our credit card debt is still where it is? It hasn't gone down. Why is it that we are in this part of the year and some of our accounts, you have creditors calling you, or some of your accounts, it's delinquent? You want to ask what got you into this position. And then you treat it as a learning opportunity and not a failure, right? So this is not a time for the blame game. It's your fault. It's XYZ. This is what you did. This is what you didn't do. But it's important that you treat it as a learning opportunity. So, okay, we were not able to pay off our credit card bill this month, right? Not a failure, it's a learning opportunity. How do we get here, or why did we get here? What did you learn, right? What are some of the lessons that you got from that? So we'll move on to the next point, number 9, which is track your progress monthly moving forward. Tracking your progress monthly moving forward. So
All right,
Mr. Bafi, you
I'll
could
do
do
that.
that.
And so creating it's like doing the review. We haven't been able to do what we are doing. So we're creating a mid-year recovery plan from now till the year. What are we going to do? You have to build a revisit action plan from now till December. From now, as we speak now, what are you doing? So, and you have to list a specific task, by month or paycheck, so that it's going to help you to be able to do what you're trying to do. And like, you have to also make sure you track progress. I know some people they do everything, but they don't track progress. You have to make sure you're doing it. Don't go a whole month without tracking progress. At least if you're up to this point, it should be weekly or bi-weekly. Track your progress. Let's say, for example, we want to do a recovery plan. What do we do from August all the way to December? So in August, for example, I'm canceling all subscriptions that I'm supposed to. What it is, it might be that we've canceled so many subscriptions, but we still can't move forward. Maybe that might help. Some of the subscriptions we don't need. We use the same subscriptions. We have different subscriptions doing the same thing. We have 2, 3, 4. Maybe we cut all the way to 2. It's time to cut one more and just leave the one. Remember, it's just for a season. Plus, maybe I'll sell 5 items. Like I said, we have so many things in our house that we don't need. I will sell those things online. Maybe at least 5 items just in August. All right. Or every month I'll sell 5 items online. So one, make sure I'm cutting subscriptions that I don't need anymore and selling stuff every month. From September, grocery budget. Uh, what are we doing in our grocery budget? I know the kids got to eat, but maybe we are spending too much on the groceries because we still can't meet our target. So it's about time we cut some groceries, down. And also maybe I'll start a side gig. One of us. That's when we talk. I'll start a side gig. So whilst we cutting down groceries, we also bring in a little bit of income. October, what do we do? It's time to review the debt, because what we've done is we have tried to cut some subscription off. We've cut down groceries, and bringing in a little bit extra. We've sold some stuff. So now let's go visit the debt strategy that we've been using. Is it going down, or we have to do more? And remember, November, we also check the automatic savings and automatic things that we are doing. Are they working well? In December, we will do review of the whole year. Plus, remember, even if we pay $50, celebration is fine. We just go out, buy something small, and we move on. And that leads us to the last but not the least, to
Point number 10. Yeah, so we'll do the 10 points. And then after, I would give a summary of all that we have done, add some final encouragement, and then turn to Mr. Buffy to also do his summary and then add any encouragement. So the 10th point, our final point, is that commit to ongoing communication and teamwork, right? So ongoing communication. So schedule monthly check-ins. Like I said, it could be a money date, 30, 45 minutes. You do that check-in to see where you're going, right? Use this analogy of somebody who is sick in a hospital, right? Every now and then, the nurse would come in, check your do a check-in, right? Especially if the person is being admitted for a long time. Every now and then, they would come in, check the person's temperature, sometimes do some blood work. So you wanna do that monthly check-in to you reach full recovery, right? So if you want to go back on track, you want to be in that recovery mode, monthly check-ins are very important. And then track progresses, we already went that, celebrate wins. And then if you need to readjust or realign that, you could be flexible enough to do that. So I would do a high level overview of everything that do a high level overview of everything that we have said and then just give some words of encouragement. So today what we did was that we did in the beginning of the year, we gave you some tips on how couples can stay on track financially to make sure that the year is successful. We started by doing a recap of everything that we were taught or we were able to share with you. And the main goal of this conversation or of this video was to enable you or to show you how you can financial goals if and we're in the seventh month and you haven't seen made any progress or things are deteriorating. The first thing was that reassess and realign your financial goals. Are the goals realistic? Are they still your priorities? Has there been any life changes? And then how can you realign is to break goals into achievable milestones, right? We talked about that. Instead of saving, if your initial goal was 50,000, you can decide, okay, due to high cost of groceries, we are spending more on groceries, so let's reduce that. And then shift focus to the most important or time sensitive goals, right? Time sensitive goals. So if it's the emergency savings, if that is time sensitive because you're maybe saving to travel, right? You want to shift focus on that. The other thing was analyze your current spending financial habits. So you print or review 3 or 6 months of bank statements, categorize your spendings, and then look for leaks, areas of leaks or overindulgence, right? Areas that you are spending too much that you are not supposed to do it. And then Mr. Buffy gave some examples of some apps that you can use. Some of the apps that you can use to categorize or visualize your spending is YNAB Mint or Rocket Money. It helps to categorize and visualize your spending. Sometimes even with your bank, right? I know for Bank of America, it will give you a graph of like, where your money is going the most, how much you spent this month. So you have these tools, right? You have these visuals, use them. And then the other thing that we talked about was I have an honest, no blame money talk, right? So you guys talked about going on a money date in a relaxed atmosphere, no blame, be respectful. Some of the topics that you want to cover on this money date is what's working, what's not, how are you both feeling about your finances, right? Remember I talked about transparency. Have that transparent. Do you think financially we are at a good place? Do you think we can do better? What are some of the changes that we are willing to make things better, right? So approach it like a team, right? It shouldn't be one partner is here, one partner is there, and then you're sort of rebuking the other partner. It should be teamwork. The other thing that we talked about is that adjust your budget. So revisit your monthly income, use a zero-based budget approach. Mr. Barfi said, give every dollar a job and reallocate your funds to mid new year mid priorities, right? Like I said, life happens. Some of the ways you can budget, right, is cut down on streaming services and redirect to savings. One thing that I say, cable, we pay so much for cable, but some people hardly use it. So if you need to cancel your cable subscription and then just use what do you call it? Just only use YouTube. I mean, that's fine. These are some of the things that you can live streaming services. I don't want to say cable, live streaming services. And then the other thing Mr. Barfi talked about was that strategize to increase income, right? So one or both partners take it on temporary side work. He talked about some of side gigs and then sell unused items. One thing I noticed, especially in our African community, is clutter. Like there's so much clutter. You go into somebody's house, there are boxes everywhere, their stuff, their clothes. Even if you don't sell it, you can donate those things to charity and then write them off um, when it's tax time, right? At least that is also a money saving tip, right? So you have sweat and years of clothes in your house, in your closet, but I just said I should speak Chi.
No, no, we'll do that next week.
Okay, we'll do that next week. um, you have boxes of clothes, and so many things in the house. The house is so congested. Sometimes you go to people's houses, you can't even move. Give all these things to Salvation Army. Sometimes you have these local donation boxes when you go to your local Army or your local Goodwill. After you donate the clothes, they will give you a receipt, right? And then you can have sometimes even 2,000 worth of clothes, 4,000, 10,000, 6,000 worth of items, and then you can use it to write it off during your taxes. That's also a money saving tip. And then Mr. Barfi talked about automating savings and debt repayments, right? why automate monthly savings, minimum, snowball? So that way, if a student loan, the money has already been taken out, right? So that way, you don't overspend, or your account does not go, you don't overspend because that money has already been taken out. And then we talked about reconnecting with your why, right? When you're feeling behind, reconnecting with your core reason for the goals helps to renew motivation. So an activity that you can both do is that each of you will write a short sentence about why your financial goal matters, right? So maybe to buy a first time, I already spoke about writing the vision down. And then you create a visual. I said you can put it on your fridge, wherever that is visible for everybody to see. Mr. Buffy talked about identifying roadblocks and patterns, right? What is it that held you back? How did we get here? And then you develop strategies. What are some of the strategies that you can develop? Build a mini emergency buffer for surprise costs, right? Your fridge can break down. Car problems, that is a common example, right? So have a mini emergency fund to take care of these things as well. And then we talked about the mid-year recovery plan, right? List specific tasks by month, by paycheck, and then we talked about tracking your progress. So August, we are going to cancel subscriptions, anything that we are not using. You go to one household, they have Netflix, they have Prime, they have Hulu, they have Disney Channel. I know sometimes you say, oh, this is $4.99, this is just $2.99, this is $3.99. But at the end of the day, you would see that just for cable bills, you are paying almost 400 plus dollars. And to be honest with you, the kids don't watch it. These kids, apart from their YouTube and their social media, they don't really bother with these things. So you should question, do we really need these things? And then finally, I also talked about commit to ongoing communication and teamwork, right? I use that analogy of a patient being in a hospital. You're trying to get into recovery. The nurses come in and then they do their check-ins, right? Especially if it's a critical patient, they have like check-ins that they do at maybe every hour, every 30 minutes. I believe so. So if your financial state is in that dire state and needs to come into a recovery state, it's very important that you have those monthly check-ins with your partner to see where you are, track progresses, celebrate wins. And then my words of encouragement, right, is that this is about partnership. So the key word here is that this is about partnership and that it is not about perfection. So keep showing up for each other and the plan. So if you are behind, you are not alone. Okay. So mid-year, like I already said, that recalibration is just change in direction without change in destination. Our destination is to make sure that financially we are set, right? So if there are certain things that has come to distract you or not put you where you need to do, we are just recalibrating, we are redirecting, right? But the destination of that financial independence and that financial freedom is still the same. So just what the most important thing or what matters most is that make sure that you are willing to reassess honestly, work as a team, and then make small and consistent progress. So, like I said, my words that I'll leave you here was that it's progress and it's not perfection. So I'll turn over to Mr. Buffy to add his final words.
Right. So, like you said, yeah, if you are behind, you're not alone. Mid-year time is the time for you to reassess. If you really want to be where you want to be, please don't tell me you can't do it. Tell me you won't, because you can change it if you're really serious and if you really want to do this. See, how long are we going to be in this situation? You see, he said together as couple, you are a force. Nobody can break you. But if one is on the west and the other is on the east, it's so hard to do it. Come together as couple and do this. And like I said, you will be able to do it if you come together, because when you're together, you are a force. Make sure you spend wisely, save intentionally, and be generous. Patrick Buffy.
Thank you. Thank you till next time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.